I'm Carl Conrad and welcome to our weekly edition of Australian Immigration News. Tonight we are providing an introduction video of the Skills in Demand visa, which is the workhorse of Australia's temporary work visa program. With the introduction of the new rules regarding the TSS temporary skills shortage visa in November last year, and the renaming of the subclass to the Skilled in Demand visa, there are several new aspects to discuss. There are three pathways or streams through which you can obtain this visa. They are the highly paid stream or the high income stream, the core skills stream and the labour agreement stream. So let's break them down into easily digestible pieces. The high income stream is for people earning more than $41,210 per year. And the good part about this stream is that the processing is quicker, and most importantly, you can nominate many more occupations than are listed on the core skilled occupation list, which we'll discuss shortly. However, you are only allowed to choose occupations that are listed in the Australian ANZSCO directory, specifically the 2022 version. You can only select occupations classified at skill level 1, 2, 4, 5 or 6. This means that trade occupations are excluded from this stream of the visa, which is very disappointing for the construction industry. This 482 Skills in Demand visa can last up to 4 years. However, the actual duration depends upon the business nominating the position. They can request a period as short as 3 months to the maximum of 4 years. For the core skills stream, you can only select an occupation from the core skilled occupation list. And this list is subject to change at any time and will likely be reviewed periodically. The core skills stream is for visa applicants who will be paid less than the high income stream, or for occupations such as trades that are not included in the high income stream. This stream has a minimum income level requirement which is set by what's called the TSMIT, the Temporary Skills Shortage Income Threshold. As of this financial year, when I make this video, the amount is currently set at $76,515, but this is indexed annually. A challenge with the core skills stream is that many occupations on this list, such as childcare workers, rarely pay their workers anywhere near the TSMIT. The same is true for cooks in regional areas, where the award wages are much lower, and many sponsors are hesitant to pay their staff at a higher rate. Next we have the labour agreement stream. Now, labour agreements come in a few shapes and sizes, and the most common being the industry-specific agreements, such as the current aged care agreements and the DAMA designated area migration agreements. Under these labour agreements, there are usually many more occupations available for sponsorship that are not listed on the core skilled occupation list. For example, in the Northern Territory, government has baristas on their DAMA occupation list. There are several advantages to being sponsored by an employer under this labour agreement stream, with the most notable being a possible upper age limit of 55 years of age to go for permanent residency, a lower English requirement, and a lower salary requirement compared to the core skills stream. It's not an easy exercise, but you need to identify the occupation list covered by these labour agreements and understand particular requirements for each individual occupation regarding whether there's an upper age limit to go for permanent residency and a concession based on English or income levels. An employer aiming to sponsor an employee under these pathways must meet similar requirements, regardless of the stream to which the employee is applying. The employer must be lawfully operating, demonstrate a genuine need for the nominated position, have the financial capacity to pay the visa applicant's salary for the requested period, and paying the nominee at what is called the market salary rate, and conduct labour market testing if required. Providing all of this requires the business to produce business registration documents, legal trading structure, financial records proving the capacity to sponsor, information regarding previous sponsorships, market salary rate proof, labour market testing evidence if required, and an employment contract for the nominee. Regarding the visa applicant, there is a somewhat subjective element in the assessment process. The law stipulates that the government must be satisfied that the individual has the educational qualifications and work experience necessary to complete the nominated occupation. There is a specific requirement that the applicant must have at least 12 months of full-time or equivalent part-time or casual relevant experience which must have occurred within the last 5 years preceding the visa application. This means you can no longer lodge the visa application and accumulate work experience after the application date, as was possible under the previous law before this recent change. At the same time the Skills in Demand visa was developed, changes were also made to the Employer Nomination Scheme visa, known as Subclass 186. These changes allowed for greater access for sponsored employees to apply for permanent residency, but of course, the employer still needs to choose to sponsor you so you can gain that permanent residency. This involves the employer submitting another sponsorship application to the government for business approval and paying all the associated expensive costs. The pathway to permanent residency via the 186 visa for those holding the 482 visa most commonly involves the transition stream of the 186 visa. We will go into more detail about how to use this temporary transition stream known as the TRT and how it can be used to access permanent residency in a future video. There is no age limit when applying for the 482 visa or when it's granted. Additionally, the requirements to meet the temporary entrant assessment is no longer in place. However, there is still the minimum English language requirement, which must be met by using one of the many nominated testing providers, and we'll leave a link to those in the description below. In general, the 482 visa favours people who are already in Australia and can find an employer willing to sponsor them. For those who have been in Australia on a student visa, working holiday visa, or graduate skill 485 visa, traditionally have had the advantage in finding sponsorship and being sponsored. The 482 visa has become an increasingly popular pathway to permanent residency under this current government, particularly for those who have already been living in Australia and have demonstrated their ability to work in their nominated occupation for an extended period. People often ask me how difficult it is to find a sponsor. Well, the answer is that it's extremely challenging. First, the business must like you, be satisfied with your work performance, and be willing to complete all the necessary paperwork and cover the associated costs. In many cases, the business must demonstrate that suitable advertising was conducted for at least a month, and they were unable to find a locally qualified candidate. The labour market testing requirement by itself often discourages many businesses from sponsoring workers under the 482 visa. The associated cost for sponsoring someone under the 482 visa is relatively high, with over $3,000 for both the primary and secondary applicants, not to mention the sponsorship and nomination application fees, as well as the Skills Australia Fund levy. Is it a good visa to go for? Absolutely. For those not in Australia, it can open the doorway to a residency pathway that may not be available to those otherwise. Yes, you do need to rely on an employer to sponsor you and for the ultimate permanent residency stage, and this can present some significant challenges. However, it remains a pathway that many have successfully used to gain their permanent residency. Remember, if you need help navigating Australia's complex visa systems, we are always here. With 26 years of running a licensed professional practice in the heart of Sydney, we have dealt with just about every complex situation that you could imagine. With this amount of experience behind us, you can be sure your visa application is in safe hands. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and support us in providing this information by hitting that like icon. As always, take care out there, and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.
Carl, we have a problem in the studio.